Hey, everyone. Hi. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Alice.
Hey now.
Greg, what are you doing here?
Hey, what do you mean? Allison,
Where'd you come from, Greg?
I came from the world of Childish, and I just want to make sure that your listeners know that you're just as wonderful on the other podcast you do.
What if they don't have kids?
Don't need them. You don't need them. A lot of our listeners actually tell us they don't have kids. We talk about sex.
We talk about all sorts of dirty stuff,
Yeah.
but also parenting stuff.
Yeah, so.
Check out Childish. New episodes every Wednesday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Maybe I should have got fixed. Allison Rosen is your new best friend. Allison, with her good times never end. Allison Rosen, doing the wavy pencil dance again. Allison's your new best friend.
Hello, everyone. Hey, everyone. Hi, hello. I opened the show differently than the way I've done it for the last, 16 to 18 years. I decided to change things up. I've curled my hair today. Also something, I spend money to get my hair straightened. So what am I doing? Putting that curl back in. You guys, life is topsy-turvy. Anyway, for people who need the accurate introduction, hey everyone, hi, hello. Welcome to another exciting episode of Allison Rosen is your new best friend. I am very excited to welcome this upcoming guest, but first, I must chat with my producer, Tony Thaxton. It is now 3 episodes in a row, 3 Quarantine Monday episodes in a row, where you have returned to the show. Tony, how's it feel?
Feels good. Feels like we're getting back in the swing of things. We're getting closer and closer to the old days, I think.
I know.
I did have I got a little freaked out this week.
What happened?
I will start the story by telling you I am COVID free.
Oh, good.
I know this for a fact, unless the test was wrong. But well, first of all, I don't know if I've told you this. I once again have a couple of family members that do have COVID.
No, I know that you had some family members, including a very old one and a very young one. Really, the bookends of life. I know that was going on like months ago, but my God, how big is your family?
Well, I mean, that was more extended family. This is a little more close family. Yeah, but everyone's doing okay. They're not like, they feel terrible, but one of them is kind of recovering now, and one is still kind of out, but she'll get there. Like they're home. They're not hospitalized.
Right.
At least.
Good.
But and then a couple nights ago, I think because of that, you know how like this past year, anytime you just cough, then you're like, oh my god, I have it.
Yes.
So I think that combined with the relatives having it the other day, I got a little freaked out, and then so I went and got myself tested. But I'm okay.
Good.
I am okay.
Good. Now, you've had your first shot, which should be providing you some immunity at this point, right? But
Yeah.
I recently heard about someone's nanny who had the first shot who got it. Now, all I care about is like, what was the timing of when she was exposed versus when she had the shot? But I don't know any of the people close enough to demand that they answer and put my mind at rest. But yeah, well, I'm glad you're negative.
Thank you.
Not that we're in the same room.
I'll try and bring my negativity to the show today.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I was just going to babble about how difficult it has been for me personally to figure out which new dishwasher I want. But suddenly that seems less important.
Oh, no. Nothing's more important than that.
You know, the way I heard myself say it and it came off like, oh, which fancy item do I want? And I don't mean it like that. I just mean, Tony, you've known me for a while. I'm going to put you on the spot here, given that I do pay you to know me as it should be. How would you say I do with like indecision? Yeah, with like making decisions and just, overthinking things.
Well, just based on the fact it seemed like you couldn't decide on how to phrase that question, that kind of answers the question, I think.
Okay, that's a real dodge.
But I don't fault you for it because I'm terrible about it myself.
Here's the thing. I feel like Bentley, your super cute dog just walked into frame. YouTube.com/Allison Rosen. You can see Tony's dog. You can see my hair.
He likes to turn into a maniac as soon as we start. He'll be laying around. He even went to the dog park today, and now he has to be here. Okay,
in the pre-Tony. Oh my God, he's hovering. In the pre-Tony era, at the very beginning with Wendy, we used to have her in the studio, and then she made such a ruckus all the time. And the listener, I don't know if you know this about podcast listeners, but they can be pretty particular about things like people eating or dogs barking or scratching or anything like that. So then she became banished from recording situations. But anyway, what I was saying is I used to be terrible with making decisions. I mean, like it was but it was always small, stupid decisions. Like I would stand in front of I needed a pad of paper, a notebook, and I would stand in front of a notebook aisle in the grocery store, and I'd be like, am I the kind of person who has a green notebook, or am I the kind of person who has, a black notebook? Oh my God, pink sparkly. I would never get that. Maybe I should get that this time. It might allow me, I might be, I would just spiral. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I have gotten a lot better, which is why I believe what I heard you say is you're decisive and you're effective. And I said, thank you, Tony, for recognizing that in me. That's what just happened, right?
Yeah. Is that not what I actually said?
I mean, you use different words, but that's kind of what you meant.
Okay.
So I feel like I've gotten a lot better. However, and just, by the way, it is a little bit the Marie Kondo thing of like what sparks joy, except that's not the language. I just remember someone saying to me, like, pay attention to your energy. What happens to your energy? So now if it's like a very small, stupid decision, I'm just like, which one makes me feel good? I'm just going to go with that one. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But we are trying to get a new dishwasher because this house came with the world's worst used dishwasher. So it was, I don't know if I've told you the history of this house. I'm hosting an 8-part series. It's going to look out, Barack and Hillary, with your podcasts, and Bruce, because my history of this house in Burbank limited series is gonna just blow up I hope the servers can handle it. Right. But anyway, it was sold at auction. It was flipped by this company who like made it look really nice, but did a lot of things on the cheap. And so the dishwasher has just been something that my husband has hated ever since we've moved in. I haven't loved it. And it was, you can buy recycled appliances. So like it has someone else's food crusted on it, and it barely works at this point. So finally the time has come to get a new dishwasher. And something that they neglected to tell us, which I understand why, but it would have been nice, is like on their way out the door with our money, if they had been like, oh, by the way, it's a non-standard dishwasher size. Fuck you, later. So that's complicating everything. So it went from like we have all the options in the world, which was difficult, to now we have like very few options because it's this non-standard size. But at the same time, it's still somehow challenging, and it's just taking up all my brain space. And I'm sorry that I just took up everyone's ear space. But anyway, that's what's going on. But I welcome this time to forget about my dishwashing woes, because we have someone on the show who I actually met a while ago, and we will get into that. It is Danny Jolles. You have seen him on Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, also Ithaca. He is a comedian, a writer, an actor, and he has a special called 6 Parts, which he filmed in 6 different locations. And it's very, very funny. And it came out this week, and it is available for free on YouTube and for money on other places, I think. No, it's not. I don't know. I'm going to find...
Nobody should do that. Nobody should do that. That is my personal thing.
Welcome to the show, Danny Jolles.
Hey!
Yay!
Oh boy, I'm so sorry I spoke early.
It is totally okay. I appreciate.
I know that they send that to people like, you could watch it for free or you could buy it, and I'm like, nobody's going to do that. We don't need to pretend.
I mean,
Once I threw it on YouTube, we all knew what like that was my whole thing was like, let's just give this thing away. Let's just make a good product and give it away in these times. And then they were like, well, we still should put it. And I was like, you can put it up there for money, but understand I will never promote that.
Well, then I wish I hadn't even tried to promote it.
I'm sorry. No, it's me. Hello, guys. This is so lovely. Tony, I'm so sorry to hear about your family. It's very stressful. It's a stressful thing.
It is. But
Allison, hate to hear about
be
the dishwasher
worse,
situation.
Thank you.
Can't stand to hear about it. I get that the smaller thing becomes an issue. That is like a real problem.
It's weird. Because like deciding where to go to college, deciding whether I should marry the man that I married, huge decisions, not hard for me. But it's the ones that don't matter that really like paralyze me.
Well, because it's so like you feel like it's negligible. You're like, what's the real difference between a dishwasher? But then when you start looking at dishwashers, I'm sure there's some big reasons.
I mean,
I'm sure there's some big differences. This is going to be something you're going to have for 10 years?
8 to 10 years.
Yeah, this is a 10-year decision.
Do you want?
We're looking at houses right now.
Oh, you are? How's that?
Yeah.
Now you're recently engaged, yes?
I am very recently engaged.
Congratulations. Tony, play something. Maybe claps. I don't know.
Tony Thaxton.
That's
Sorry. You know I have to. Every time you ask for something, I'm just going to play my name being sung.
congratulations on the engagement.
Yes, congrats.
Thank you so much.
I need to hear details, and I need to hear how the house hunting is going. I've heard the market right now is insane.
It's because we have a tiny place right now, and so we sold that, and it was great. What a great experience selling it was, because it is a seller's market.
Right.
So we put this thing up. We got offers immediately. Boom, like one weekend, done.
Wow.
And now we're entering the buyer's side, and I'm like, oh, it's not good. Not good.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to really fight for a place.
Now, this place that you're in right now, which looks very lovely, is this the place that you sold?
This is the place we sold.
Oh, wow. So you sold a place before you had a new place. That makes me frightened.
It makes me frightened, but what made me more frightened, and keep in mind I'm terrified of everything, but what made me more frightened was the premise of finding a place, buying a place, and then being like, okay, well, now we obviously have to sell this place and nobody wanting it.
Yes,
and then us
having
having two places.
Right. So how does this work then? Do you have to be out by a certain day?
Yeah. And we're just going to be vagabonds for a couple months.
You'll find
figure it out.
something. Yeah.
There's always an actor in Canada. There's always someone.
That's right. So how long do you have?
We have like weeks. This place is chaos. Like right now, my camera, this is truly the most Hollywood thing where it's like you create a situation that looks lovely. Like it looks lovely. What a lovely apartment.
It's neat. It's tidy. You've got books. You've got stuff on the
neat,
walls.
tidy place. And if I just were to take this camera and just start sliding you over to the chaos. But that's not what we see. We just see this.
Yeah.
But it's a nightmare to my right.
What was all that?
I don't even know. She's moving stuff. Things are moving. I don't know. All I know is it is, it's exciting to sell, but then it's so quick. It's so fast how quickly you're like, so exciting. What do we do with everything we've ever bought?
Right.
Particularly when we don't have a place it's going to yet.
Yeah.
We're going to figure it out.
It'll be okay. It'll be
fine.
So let's
At least moving is fun.
It is.
That was sarcasm.
I'm excited about it because I think at the end of the day, it's all going to go. I don't own anything. I don't own stuff really. So as a result, it's very easy for me. I'm like, I could live out a suitcase for a year. Mm-hmm. So I'm not worried about that. For her, it's going to be brutal. Feel terrible for her. This is going to be a very tricky time. But for me, put it in a box, put it in a place, see it in a year.
Is this, do you actively try not to own stuff? Because I just gather stuff. I collect it.
I know. Well, there's, you ever have something in your life where you're like, this is just like a fun thing about me. And then you start like dating somebody for a while and they're like, oh, it's very obviously from like a past thing.
A past trauma? you mean?
Yeah, like that's very obviously a past trauma thing. And you're like, oh, I thought it was just like a quirk of mine.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, it's a past trauma. Yeah, I don't own anything. I've never owned things. I don't possessions do nothing for me. And you know, when I started dating my fiance, I was like, yeah, just don't own things. It's cool. It's a fun thing about me. And then like after a while, I was like, yeah, it's fun. She's like, your house burned down as a child. You obviously don't care about possessions because you lost all your possessions when you were in middle school. And I was like, oh yeah, it's for sure what caused this.
Right.
That's why I don't value things. Isn't that weird?
There you go.
So I just don't own anything.
So what happened with the house burning down?
Oh, good times. We it's like no, it's honestly like it's so funny how when you live through something like that, it's so quickly because it was just so crazy. And as a kid, you're not dealing with any of the serious stuff. You're just dealing with the like, this is a wild ride. My mom is a paper artist, so she does incredible work. And she makes beautiful stuff. But there was a room in our house that was wall to wall paper.
The most flammable fucking room.
If you were to draw up a way to have a fire in your house, you couldn't do it better than have a room just made of Kindle. And an electrical malfunction occurred, and we don't really know what caused it, but it was just like electric, and a spark flew out. It like hit a piece of paper, spread, and within like minutes, it was just like,
oh man,
that place, it was like gone. So like we had 2 floors, and like top half was like literally like a bomb went off, and then the bottom half was just like smoke damage. So the structure held because it was like it was back in Virginia, and they built nice things, so it's like a brick house. But in the top floor, I remember like the top floor, just like looking in and being like, oh, it was like a bomb. It was wild.
Were you not home?
I sure wasn't. I was at school, and so
was anyone home?
My mom was, and so it was actually good because she's probably the one who, because it's like true. It's like my dad actually was like, it was because my dad would have tried to fight the fire. You know, my dad would have been like, it's okay. And like my mom was smart enough to see it and just be like, not a chance. And just like call the fire department. And then we got, she got all the animals out. Just like, it just happened. And then I came home with like got a very weird voicemail. Just being like, go to the neighbor's house when you come home. And then came home and I was like, I remember because they were like, there's a fire, go to the neighbor's house. And I was like, all right. But that was like all I knew. And so I remember turning the corner and seeing the house and being like, oh, it's fine.
Because you didn't see any damage on the outside.
Yeah, it wasn't ash. I was like, seems fine. And then I remember there was like still 4 fire trucks there. And I was like, that's a lot. It's a lot of fire trucks.
Yeah.
Too many. That was it. Boom.
And your room had been upstairs?
My room was downstairs, so I just had bad smoke damage. But this is so heavy. I'm so sorry I brought it.
No, I do. This is what I do.
I love it. I love to. It is like no baggage from me towards it. So it's like I'm fine talking about it.
Okay, good.
I like talking about it because I don't think a lot of people talk about going through a fire.
Yeah,
but it's something a lot. Yeah.
I've had so many guests, and I think you might be the first house fire guest. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Tony, play that noise.
Tony Thaxton.
There it is. There you go. It's the classic fire noise.
Yeah. Does that remind you of what you heard that day? And you were like, I don't even know who that is. One day it'll make sense.
I remember sitting out there and the firemen were running around, and I just remember hearing Tony Thaxton, and we're going, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay.
Like, it's weird. It sounds like the Living Spaces commercial, even though I don't think I've seen that yet.
Tony Thaxton, which sounds like a famous person's name, but it isn't quite right, I would have said at the time. But then Tony Thaxton.
Right.
It's beautiful.
Were items of yours damaged? Do you remember? Like, are there things that you wish?
Yeah. So basically what they do, so for me, a fireman, he gave me a box, and he was like, you're going to go in with me. We're going to go down to your room, and you're going to grab what you can't live without. because everything else in here is going to go into these like ozone chambers where they're going to try to pull the smoke off. So there's a chance they get the smoke damage off. There's a chance it doesn't work. Because smoke damage is like impossible to remove. Brutal to remove smoke damage. And so I went in with this fireman, and I went down to my room, and I had a little box, and I just like grabbed the dumbest shit ever.
Like what?
Completely choked. First off, I grabbed books for school, literally the stupidest thing. That on the, and then I grabbed like, I had these baseball cards, these APBA baseball cards. And for some reason, I was like, this will be a good activity. I've literally played the game probably 3 times, and I was like, this is smart. That took up like half the box. It's just dumb stuff. I just didn't, it was just like, I just was grabbing things, you know, wrestling figures, being like, this is good.
Is there stuff that you, like, do you play that in your head? Is there stuff that you wish you had got instead?
I definitely wish I hadn't gotten the books. The books was the one that I remember like 2 hours later at the neighbor's house being like, books? I don't even own the books.
That's why you grabbed them.
It's the public school's books. Why would I grab these? Like, I was so mad. Because I will tell you, the best part about having a fire is you have an excuse for years. I rode that thing through all of high school.
Like how?
Happened in 9th grade, all of high school. I rode it. It was senior year, and they'd be like, "You turned in homework late," and I'd be like, "I had a fire," and I just want to remind everyone about that. And they'd be like, "Okay, turn it in tomorrow." Like, I rode the fire excuse for years. We literally, it was we would talk about as a family the fire card. We would play the fire card constantly. But yeah,
it is a true upside.
And so, it's a huge upside.
Did you
as
guys,
a kid, if you're not dealing with the financial stuff, yeah.
Did your parents stay, or did you guys stay in that house?
No, we were out of the house for a year. Took us a year to get back in.
Wow.
We stayed at the neighbor's house that night. Then we moved into a hotel, which we lived in for like a month. Was that fun? Because the child part of me is like, ooh, that sounds kind of cool. And that's what I remember thinking it would be. I literally remember being like, this is gonna, because I really have like a very optimistic way of being, I think, which is pretty certainly rare for a comic, but rare as a human. But like, I'm pretty like, all right, I'm gonna figure this thing out. So I remember kind of bringing that attitude, like, all right, this isn't ideal, but like we can get through this. And I remember being like, all right, living in a hotel. The problem was, so everything's through fire insurance, and so what they did was they put us in a suite as a family. It was 5 of us. So my parents had one room, my sisters had another room, and then I had the middle, which I was excited about.
Fold-out couch.
Which I was excited about because I was like, oh, I have the TV. But it turns out that that's a nightmare. And so I hated that. I hated not having my own space. And then the hotel, like, it's just weird. It just was weird. It was like kind of fun, but like pretty quickly wore off. Then we moved to a rental house. Nightmare house.
Why?
Horrible. Because nobody cares for it.
Oh.
Because it's a rental house. So the people who owned it didn't give 2 shits about this house. And we didn't give a shit about the house. And so everything was broken. It's not your house. We had these bees.
Oh, God.
We had these bees. It was the craziest thing. These bees would come in. For those of you watching on video, this big. It's like a
silver dollar size bee, but in a bee shape.
Yeah. Biggest bees I've ever seen in my life. But they were super slow, and they would come in through this one spot in the brick, and there'd be about 5 a night would come into the living room.
This sounds like a horror movie.
It was, but they were so slow.
They're zombie bees.
Allison, when I tell you they were the easiest bees in the world to hit. They were the first night, they came in and it was like, oh my God. And then by like night 3, my dad and I, because it would happen at like 9 o'clock every night, my dad and I would literally like get pumped. And we'd be like, let's go, bee time. And we'd grab our tennis rackets and I would tee off on these bees.
With a tennis racket? That's how big they were?
Yeah, because it's big. Well, no, because I'm not that good with a baseball bat. Gotta
Oh.
gotta have a bigger. Sorry, no, it's only because I'm bad at baseball. Needed a bigger target.
Despite your baseball cards in your box, but
I know you think so.
But I'm just thinking like the lattice work of strings. How would you actually get?
Oh yeah, no,
beat?
they were big. They were big enough that they never went through it. You would always hit it.
Interesting. Tony,
They were huge.
You grew up
Huge.
in Virginia. Did you know about Danny's Fire?
Did you really, Tony?
Well, I did. I didn't grow. I lived there high school and then a little beyond then. So
Where'd you live?
just outside of Richmond in Mechanicsville is the town. Where did you live?
So fun. I lived in Fairfax County,
Okay.
but I went to governor's school at the University of Richmond, which I don't know if you knew about that summer program that Virginia, because they have
I've heard
such
of it.
so Virginia has such shitty arts for public school kids. They have this program where you can audition and you can get in, and they'll give you a free summer at like a beautiful university where they just like let you do your art.
Oh, wow.
So I did this governor's school thing at the University of Richmond, but government paid. My parents have never been more proud of me as an actor than that period of my life when I got a free summer at the University of Richmond. It was awesome.
So did you know that you wanted to perform young?
Yeah. Yeah. We used to, that was like the big, I knew very early I wanted to do this. And like my parents were incredibly anti it.
What
which
did
is
they
fair.
do?
Mom's an artist.
Oh, right.
And my dad is a professional speaker. So you would think
Yeah.
they'd be so on board.
You would. I would.
But they both managed. The problem was they both managed very intelligently to do their art in a very practical manner. It's like my mom's an artist, but she was an art teacher a lot of my childhood. She sort of figured out a way to like be an artist, but make a salary. My dad is like an incredible performer, incredible speaker, but he does a lot of sales training and a lot of like, he gets hired by companies to like give these presentations where he teaches them how to sell. Sort of like Jordan Belfort at the end of Wolf of Wall Street is the best example I can give of what my dad does. And so the both of them basically figured out a way to take their thing they were good at in the arts and do it very practically. So when I was like, I just want to tell jokes, they were not on board.
Really?
They hated it.
Are your sisters?
Yeah.
Are your sisters older?
Younger.
Younger. Okay.
So I was
Because
the
I was gonna say like, had your sisters already done sensible things, but no, you were the first one.
Unfortunately, I was this rogue one. I was rogue, and I had such promise early. I was such a good like Jew as a kid, so they were like really hopeful.
Good Jew in
were
what?
really
Like in what way?
Oh, I was so good at Hebrew school. I dominated Hebrew school.
Did they want you to be a rabbi or something?
They did, and I thought I was. I remember my bar mitzvah. I was like, I think I would be a rabbi. Like, I was like, I'm either gonna be a comic or a rabbi. And then sports agent entered the picture for a second, and then we went comic.
Did sports agent enter the picture around the time of Jerry Maguire? Or were
It sure did. What if I told you it's exactly what you think happened?
that would track for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so your parents were not particularly supportive. How do they feel now, though?
So good. So on board, so supportive. It was never that they weren't supportive. They just didn't like the idea of me doing it as a kid. And then when I got into NYU, they were like, I had to double major. That was the only way I could go there. So I double majored.
In?
And that bought me that time. And then when I graduated, basically, I just was like, and I tell this to like young kids who are like thinking about going to the arts, where I'm like, look, a very good idea, and I recommend it, is actually focus on getting a day job first and foremost. Get a day job, because if you can get a day job and support yourself, your parents can't say shit to you. So that's what I did. I just graduated NYU, I got a job, and I just like clung to the job, and nobody could say anything to me.
What was the job?
I worked at a company called Adafruit, which I'd imagine a couple people listening to this know. But for those of you that don't, it's because it's a niche company. They do open source electronics. And there's a woman called Lady Ada who's like very big in that world, and she has this company. They build these like kits that people buy to create electronic things. That is, after working there for probably 3 years, the maximum I understood. I knew nothing. I could, but the job was, I would just put, this is all I do all day. I put 50 red Solo cups out on a table, and I have a list of components, and I just put each component in each cup, and I do the next component, and I take the cups at the end, and I pour them into a bag, and I do that, and then I just do it again. I would do that all day long, every day, and they loved me. It was the best company to work for. They loved me because everybody else like was into that stuff who worked there. So they'd like ask questions and be like, oh, what is that? I would just be like, literally what's on the sheet? That's what I put in here. If you put a pile of turd on this sheet of paper, I'm putting that in the thing. I don't know what we're making. I have no clue.
What they loved about you was your lack of curiosity.
They loved it. I wasn't intimidated by her because she's sort of a celebrity in that world. Wasn't intimidated by her at all because I was like, no clue. No clue what you do. Like I was just a great employee. I love that company.
It's like the same job as if you were making gift baskets.
It was, yeah, kind of. Yes. It was
selecting items and putting them in a thing.
Just easy. Yeah.
Ada, and the last name is, or the last second word of the company is Fruit. Adafruit.
Yeah. Adafruit.
I've never heard of this, but now I mean, I got to see what she looks like. What does she look like?
To Lady Ada. She looks great. She looks like a lovely woman who's like, she's like a lovely woman who looks very normal and like, but is just a genius. She's a genius with electronics. She really is like, from what I could tell, and again, I couldn't have understood less. She was massive in this world. Like they were like, we had a thing of like, be aware people sometimes try to like come to the office to meet her. So it was like, we always had to like kind of be a little protective of her, which I remember being, again, so then people would be constantly trying to get the job there because they wanted to meet her. And I would be like, again, just the best employee because I was like, don't care.
All right, I'm looking her up.
Yeah.
So far, all that's come up is like terminals and computer things.
Look up Lady ADA. Let's see if I can find her.
Okay. I mean, Lady ADA sounds like an electronic artist.
Yep.
Lady.
There she is.
Wait. No, because what I'm seeing, is this her, Limor Freed?
Yep. That's her.
She's young and hip looking. I didn't expect this.
Oh, yeah. She's young. I told you.
She's got
she's
like
normal.
shocking pink hair. For some reason, and Tony, I need to know if you also had this. Like Lady Ada to me is 65 and has a beehive. Tony? What were you picturing?
Yeah, definitely older. Yeah, I wasn't expecting young and hip. I don't think I had any like super elaborate mental picture.
She's like a phenom in the world.
In the world of
Apparently.
open source electronics, which none of us know what that is, pretty much.
None of us know what it is.
Like, is this something that appeal? But the people who do know what it is are yelling at their phone right now, and they will be leaving me.
Oh, people used to come to me and be like, you work with her, like, you know her? And I'm like, yeah, I know her. They'd be like, oh my God. I'd be like, I feel nothing. I mean, she's just my boss, and I was like, yeah, she's super nice, and she's very. It was great. We had the best relationship with her. She was so cool to me because I just didn't care and she didn't care. It wasn't like she gave a shit about my comedy. Like we both were just like, and they were the best. It was the best company to work for because they knew I wasn't there to be like in this world. I was just a young comic and I was like just busting my ass at open mics every night. And that was like my day job, and they just couldn't have been more. I remember they would I get auditions, and they would just be like, leave. Get out of here. Go ahead. Just make up your hours at some point. They were the best. It was the best company to work for.
How did you know when it was time to shuffle off?
I just sort of stumbled. I had visited LA a couple of times because I liked acting. So I was like, I know at some point I got to bite the bullet and go to LA because New York has 4 TV shows and most of them are CSIs, which I'm not great for.
Right. And 30 Rock.
And
had 30 Rock.
30 Rock at the time. Oh, I was trying so hard to get on 30 Rock at the time. But I wasn't good
at acting.
That's an important No, at acting I was okay, but at stand-up I was bad.
Oh, okay.
Still. So, and that's, kind of how you get in there.
Well, let's go back for 1 second, just because I've got to close this loop. What were the 2 things you majored in at NYU?
Theater and political science.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So we are now cleared to move on. Okay. So then
Good.
You do your day job with this young hip fruit lady, and you're going on auditions and you're doing stand up at night, and you're good at acting, but you're not good at stand up, says you. But at this point,
That says everyone.
At this point,
Says everyone.
were you? Well, look, we can't interview everyone right now, so I'm not sure. I'll just have to take your word for it.
I've got plenty of college roommates that'll tell you. I got a John and an Alex and a Daigo who would tell you they went to so many shows and I'm terrible.
A John,
I was terrible
an Alex,
once.
and a Daigo. Now, see, the
Those are all my
Daigo
roommates.
came from out of left field because I was expecting it was just going to be like standard John Doe
Standard white guy names?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sure.
And then a
Daigo.
curveball, a Daigo. Didn't see that coming.
My roommate all through my time in New York, Daigo. Best.
What's he doing now?
He still works at Adafruit.
Really?
Yeah,
For real?
I think so. I haven't
love
checked where he is,
that.
but I think so. Oh, he's the best.
This company, their retention rates are through the roof.
Well, at one time they hired basically one of my roommates, Brian, was their second employee ever, maybe third. And so he just slowly hired each of us as we graduated college because the company was expanding tremendously. So I was like their fifth employee ever. If I was still at that company, I'd make so much money. If I
would you still be
into
filling cups, or would you be doing something more?
I feel like I would have started managing because I remember there was like talk of like if you ever want to, you could move up here because I was good. I'm a very good
Jew.
I'm very good at following orders. Jew, basically. I'm good at following orders.
I changed my mind.
Basically, though, like if you tell me to do something, I would just do it.
Yeah.
So I was like, and I don't yell or get upset. I'm pretty good at like keeping calm. Mm-hmm. So as a result, I was like pretty great employee. And then like for that, like when I started, it was like 2 of us doing the cup thing. By the time I left, there were probably like 10 cup people, probably another like 10 to 15 are running the shipping department. The company got huge. We had like 2 floors by the time I left. Started in one room. By the end, it was 2 floors in this warehouse.
Fascinating. You know how earlier I said I was going to do a limited podcast on the history of my house? I've decided instead I'm going to explore Adafruit. It's going to be 8 episodes.
Well, let me tell you, episodes 3 through 8 are going to have to not involve me because I don't know what happened once I left, other than they were doing great and they're still going.
You're just the friendly voice that gets us into the story.
Of course.
And it's just going to start with the sound of like clinking, like little electronics clinking, and that's the sound of stuff dropping into plastic cups. And that's probably what I'll say. Like, that's the sound of electronics dropping into plastic cups.
How'd they get there? How'd they start this? Is it really fruit-based? Let's find out. We just go.
This season on...
And then they start playing a little
Strange
music in
Fruit.
the background. Yeah, they start playing like...
Yeah.
And you're like, here we go. Here comes a podcast that should have been 3 episodes. That's going to be 8. That's every podcast.
Okay, so were you more interested in acting or stand-up at this point, or did you have a preference? The point at which you decided to move.
So, there's 2 different points. Acting was my focus in college. Mm-hmm. Right as I'm graduating college, I discovered that if you don't have connections to Hollywood, you can't work. Mm-hmm. And it isn't like I wasn't doing well in auditions. It was like you can't audition if you don't have connections out of the gates. So pretty quickly, I was like, wow, I learned a skill, and better yet not book it. Like better yet when like, and it drives me nuts. Like celebrities are like, I remember I just couldn't book, and I'm like, but you were even auditioning. You don't even know. It took me years and years and years to get to auditioning, and I still to this day have to fight to get into rooms. Still have to beg my reps, like, please get me in this room, please. I couldn't get in rooms, and I was doing stand up like 2 to 3 times a week, which is not enough, not even close. And then my friend was like, do you want to go see this? This guy's taping a special at the NYU Theater, Skirball. I've never heard of the guy. He was in 40-Year-Old Virgin. And I was like, I guess. And I was 3rd row for Kevin Hart's first special.
Oh, wow.
And it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And I just remember sitting there being like, I have no clue if this guy has any connections to the business, but that was undeniable. Like what he just did was an undeniable thing. And the next day I like basically was like, fuck acting. We're doing stand up. I started busting my ass at stand up, working at Adafruit. And then I keep going out to LA to visit, but I'm not yet. I'm too afraid. And I finally come out here for like a quick thing. And I book a Coca-Cola commercial.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And that I was like, I live here now. And then the Coca-Cola commercial went badly.
Oh, who cares about that? So anyway, no, tell me about that.
It's a visual story. So I don't know if you'll be able to show it visually, but maybe you can edit it in afterwards because I can send you the footage.
Okay. I think we can do
and
that.
I'm like,
can we do that?
can we
Tony,
do that, or
we
can I
do
try
that.
to? Can I try to screen share it? I don't. Because it will. Well, I'll just describe it, and if you can.
Yeah,
But
describe
so-
it and then send it whatever it is to us, and then we'll do something magical with it.
See if you can, because I'm perfectly happy to tell. So, and I hope I don't get in trouble, but it's been years.
Yeah.
I booked this Coca-Cola commercial when I come out here. It is called they're basically building AHH.com through 30 H's. And each one is a different website with different games and activities. And it was this huge digital campaign. This was like massive. And they were like, it's this one character, this scientist that's going to take you through all these different factories. These commercials are going to be everywhere. And I booked this role out of this casting director named Lisa, who was like the best, like fought me in. She was literally the only casting director I'd ever met out here. And she fought me in. I booked this role and I filmed this thing where I have this lab coat on and I talk about, and it's like all that. And I filmed like 4 commercials, one super long one. They built an entire Coca-Cola factory for me.
Wow.
I'm like, this is crazy. The amount of money is wild at the time to me.
6
I've
figures?
never made
5 figures.
No, but 5 figures and a consistent
Yeah.
throughout the year. It just as long as literally I exist in these commercials, I'm just going to keep getting this. So I'm like, okay, I'm good. I've got a job.
Yeah.
And this is and by the way, this is my first time and I'm doing great. And I remember when I booked it, they like kept asking me they like knew everything about me by the time I showed up. They knew everything I'd ever done. And they were so excited, and I film it. It's great. We're communicating a lot, me and the company, because they're like, get ready, blah, blah, blah. And then I just like stop hearing from them.
Oh,
And
no.
I'm like, that's weird. It's concerning.
Yeah.
But I'm following Coca-Cola on social media, and they keep posting articles of places being like, get ready for this new Coca-Cola campaign. It's going to change digital marketing. So I'm like, I know it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day, I'm on Facebook, and I just see Meet the Coca-Cola Scientist.
Ugh.
And I click on the link, and I swear to God, I will show it to you afterwards, if nothing else. It is me sitting there, taking you through the factory and walking through the factory. But they have put a cartoon polar bear's head over my head. And cartoon polar bear arms over my arms,
I'm sorry.
but have kept my human body. So it is this strange cartoon, half human, half cartoon polar bear with a new voice taking you through the factory. At no time do you see my face, hear my voice. I am no longer recognizable in the commercial and lose everything. And I was like, it looks terrible. It sounds terrible. I have no clue who made this call. It is one of the most insane things I've ever seen. And that was my coming to Hollywood experience.
Wow. What's your what is your sense of what happened? Were they like, this human isn't working, we need a polar bear? Or
I have fought for years. And if anybody's listening to this and worked on the campaign,
Get in
please
touch.
tell me what happened. Because literally I remember they posted on YouTube and the first comment was like, what is with the human? Like it looked terrible.
Yeah.
Like it looked so weird. I can only imagine I obviously either did a bad job acting or it wasn't the right look. I don't know what happened. Something went wrong. And they just obviously like panicked and were like, let's salvage this campaign. But it was bad. It looked bad.
Were you asking your reps at the time if they could find out? I mean, I guess
All I
they
had was
can't.
a commercial. All I had was a commercial agent at the time, and her name is Laura. I still rep by her, Laura Suhu. She's a wonderful lady. But like, what's she supposed to do? We like, hey, his feelings are hurt. Like, it's
Right.
like, you know, it's like it's not her job to like make me. She just was like, I don't know. Like, and also I, initially out of the gates wasn't telling too many people.
Yeah.
Because I was like, it's pretty humiliating. Then as time went on, I was like, man, right.
You know what I think would have helped you? Probably if you could have spoken with someone about it. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. If you're feeling depressed or struggling with relationships or having difficulty sleeping or meeting your goals, or you have found that you have been recast as a partially animated polar bear, BetterHelp offers online professional counselors who can listen and help. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist, and you can start communicating in under 48 hours. I know that people who are wanting to start therapy of late have been having trouble finding therapists, and I have been saying to them, BetterHelp, go to BetterHelp, for all the reasons I have said and will keep saying. But friends of the show, Allie Ward and Greg Fitzsimmons, have very positive things to say about BetterHelp. And I do not feel bad about revealing that because it was on podcast that I discussed BetterHelp with them and they told me about their experiences. So
I have to tell you, there's a solid chance I actually do that because I'm literally in the middle of talking about how I think I need to because I'm a big therapy only when you need it guy.
Oh.
And so I've been out of it for a while, and then this pandemic, I'm like, it might be time. Might be time to re-talk.
I recommend BetterHelp. And I will tell you, if you have the concern that I think a lot of people starting up with a new therapist have, which is, well, what if I don't like the person that I have been matched with? I don't want to be committed. How do I get out of that? They let you change therapists as many times as you want, no extra charge until you find the right fit. So it's really...
That's great.
It's great. It is great. All of our listeners get 10% off their first month of online therapy at betterhelp.com/bestfriend. Visit BetterHelp, that's better, HELP.com/bestfriend, and join the over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced BetterHelp professional. So again, that is betterhelp.com/bestfriend. And then also, if you are trying to recover from a commercial that has gone awry or just life, this segue is going to be less smooth than possible. But I just want to talk about...
I think we're going to make it work. We're going to make it work.
Thank you. You are a positive person.
I'm pretty positive.
Yeah. I just want to talk about Brooklinen. They make the most comfortable sheets, the best comforters. Both Tony and I use their towels, and I sleep exclusively on Brooklinen sheets, except I recently tried out a different set of sheets, and I did not sleep well. And also the heating pad that I was using broke, so I was ascribing my inability to sleep to that. But I think it's also the sheets. I just only sleep. Look, I'm saying it here and I'm going to make it so. I only sleep on Brooklinen, and I'm going to go back to what I was doing before, which is wash the Brooklinen sheets, put them right back on the bed. I shouldn't have let an interloper get in because it messed me up. But Brooklinen, they're luxury sheets at an affordable price. They're made really well. They're really comfortable. You will sleep better on them than whatever you're currently sleeping on. And their comforters are super great as well. Look, Brooklinen creates Beautiful, high-quality bedding and home essentials. They work directly with manufacturers to give you a fair price. No middleman, no markups. Their comforters come in lightweight, all-season, and ultra-warm to suit every type of sleeper and lifestyle. There's even a weighted comforter option for stress relief. They also offer a variety of materials, including an eco-friendly recycled down alternative. And Brooklinen's comforters pair perfectly with their sheets, pillows, and duvet covers. Treat yourself to ultimate comfort with Brooklinen's comforter collection. Go to brooklinen.com and use promo code BFF to get $25 off with a minimum purchase of $100. That's Brooklinen, BROOKLINEN.com, and enter promo code BFF for $25 off with a minimum purchase of $100. That's brooklinen.com, promo code BFF, brooklinen.com, promo code BFF. Okay, and we're back. All right. I feel like
I liked it.
Thank you. And we're still early on in the Danny Jolles story. Okay, so you come out to LA, you have your bad commercial experience, and then what
Bad commercial.
happened?
We're not doing great. What happened then? All right, so we're in LA. Commercial goes bad, but start booking a lot of commercials, actually. That's how initially I'm kind of supporting myself off commercials while I'm doing stand up every night, just grinding at stand up. Stand up's my thing. But I'm I'm going to, but I keep booking commercials. Bad ones, usually being attacked by animals. I was attacked by many animals in commercials. That's one of my specialties.
Like real animals or someone dressed as an animal?
Sometimes real. I did a commercial with a bull.
Oh my God.
Then I did a commercial I was attacked by bees, not real bees. They added them in afterwards, but the acting, you would never have known. Right. I was attacked by penguins in a commercial.
But not real penguins.
Real penguins for that one.
You got to act with real penguins who attacked you?
And let me tell you, penguins, it turns out, are vicious.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're really vicious. It was this commercial for. I always said it was Mike's Hard Lemonade, and it turns out it wasn't Mike's Hard Lemonade. It was some other alcoholic thing like that I was wrong about. I literally was doing the commercial incorrectly at the time. I thought it was for a different company. It's very recently somebody was like, they're not. It's like a subset of Mike's Hard Lemonade, but it's not them.
Okay.
And I was like, well, saying that wrong for years. But it was a commercial where I get attacked by penguins, and the penguins are so vicious that they're very cute, though. Oh, they're so cute because they're they're like a little family. There was 6 of them on set, and they're all buddies, and they don't like to be separated. So anytime one would be taken out of the pen, the other 5 would lose their mind and cling to each other. And then when you put that one back in, they'd all engulf each other and just start talking. It's very cute. And
so
anywhere
cute.
one goes, they all try to go.
Yeah.
It's adorable. But they're vicious. So they would have to do shots where they would have me act, lock off the cameras, and then they would put the penguins around me with me out of the shot. That's how mean they were. And then they did a shot at the very end where they wanted a penguin on top of me because they finally take me down. And they literally had to cover my face with a safety blanket, and they shot my head with no penguin, and then they covered my face and held this penguin on top of me, so I couldn't see it. All I would hear is them be like, "Okay, we're putting the penguin down," and I just smashing on my chest, and I just feel I'm terrified, and that was it. That was my experience with penguins.
This sounds like some weird kind of torture situation. Now, the plot of this commercial, why are they attacking you? They want your lemonade?
No, I was shot out of a cannon by some guy. A guy in his garage was experimenting, and he shot me out of a cannon. I landed in Antarctica, and then the penguins attacked me. It was never very clear what it was, but I've got a really wild reel of commercials.
It sounds like it.
I've done a lot of commercials. I'm very good at commercial acting.
Congratulations.
If you're looking for a guy
to sell, yeah. What do you think it is? What about you is so commercial?
I think that I like to take big swings in general with acting. I'm if we're going to do it, let's do it. And so with commercials in particular, there's this real feeling, I think, of oh, if this works, let's just oh, that's a funny thing he did. Him. And versus sometimes with TV and film where I think there's a little bit more of a who's the safest choice, who just does the job.
Right. Interesting.
I think with commercials, they're almost more open to like, oh, that was fun. We never thought of it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the penguin, like the bees thing. It was like, I remember like just being like, bees, but like adding in like something, and they were like, oh yeah, sure. Also, it's just easier. It's just easier acting.
Mm-hmm. Do you still do
Quarters
commercials?
on not acting. Oh yeah. I'll always do. I mean, at some point, I hope my career, I'm like more get to, but like right now, I'm like, yeah, I just did a commercial a month ago. Funded commercial. Not allowed to say.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
No,
okay, Mr. NDA.
They're real strict about that.
All right. So you do lots of commercials, and then when did Crazy Ex come in to the picture? Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Right. So so first off, back at NYU, meet a girl named Rachel Bloom. We start doing we're in Hammer Cats, which is the NYU sketch group together.
Mm-hmm.
And the both of us kind of share, one, she's just a wonderful human. We become friends. But two, we both have kind of the same attitude of like, I'll do it. I'll do it. Like that's to this day. I'm like, for the most, like as long as it's nothing crazy, I'm like, if I got a free day and you need something, like I'll do it. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so we both liked putting on silly, stupid shows. And so I would always be in stuff she was in. She was always in stuff I'm in. This is carried on through our entire lives. Cut 2. Rachel Bloom sells a TV show called Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Gets picked up to series on CW. I'm not in any way. Obviously, she has to cast real actors with credits. But she's like the best. And she's like, hopeful at some point she could just get me like a credit.
Mm-hmm.
And so like halfway through season 1, I go in for like one-line role that was like it was like a quick like guy from high school that was it. That was all it was.
Uh-huh.
Didn't book it. Classic. I'm not good.
Was that like during a musical? You say that during a musical number?
Yeah, it was like during a musical.
Right.
It was a one-line part. She's like just trying to get it for me. Can't book it. A couple episodes later, a literal easier role now. Now it is just one line and it's a dancing lawyer.
Mm.
All I have to do is dance in the background of a lawyer. I don't even have a name. I'm literally dancing lawyer number 1. When I go into audition for that role, the casting director, Felicia Fasano, who's the best, is like, hey, you've been here before. You're funny. Could you go read for this other role?
Oh, how fortuitous.
Incredibly lucky. She hands me this role for this character, George, who has 3 lines. Mm-hmm. So we're bigger. 3 lines. Guy in an office just like says like, she's here. That's all I said. I book that one.
Nice.
And literally showed up. Rachel just saw my name and said yes because I was the pick. So she didn't even notice they flipped me. And she was like, I remember she was like bummed when I showed up sick. She was like, I wanted you to be a dancing lawyer. And I was like, I don't know this guy. And I'm like, she's like, oh, but I guess you're in the office. And I was like, yeah, I guess those characters in the office. She's like, huh, okay. And like, we just sort of leave it there. Season 1 ends. Season 2 starts. And like halfway through season 2, they're like, hey, they want to bring you back. In like this part where I like had it said a couple lines in a couple episodes and then I get fired. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's the end. What a run. What a journey. Pretty incredible. Now I've recurred on a TV show. Yeah. What a run. They fire me. Then they're like, hey, we're going to actually rehire the character. I get rehired the next episode. Then they're like, pretty funny, actually. We're going to fire the character again. That becomes the bit of the character. Mm-hmm. Every time I'm fired from the show, I genuinely believe I'm being fired. It was like truly as an actor. It was actually really nice because I really had these like, I think 7 different times on that set. I was like, this is the last time. What a run. What a run we had. Like I really like took it in. I was like, wow, to be a part of this talented people, they all know my name. Unbelievable. Then I come back 2 episodes later. I'd be like fired again. Like, okay, what a run, huh? Got a bit on a TV show. And then like start of season 3, they really paired me and Scott Michael Foster off. And I remember being like, oh, I think I'm here. And then I just got to ride it out. But that's how it happened. It was Rachel and then luck. Felicia kind of like pulled me into that other role.
That's really cool. So when she found out that you were playing George and was like, huh. Was that a of like, oh, I can bring this character back? Like initially, was that character just supposed to be the 3 lines?
Yeah, it was just supposed to be 3 lines. That was it. But it was like, it was just one of these things where she was like, huh. But, I would, again, I'll do it guy. So, throughout the time, like she's doing sometimes like live shows and I would do stand up on them. So, the writers and creators kind of saw me and they knew I was like funny because of stand up, because I'm getting good at that point. And so they were just like, it was just, and then I'll never know what actually made them bring me back. Probably Rachel, if we're going to, I'm assume it was her being like, what about Danny? Mm-hmm. But then at a certain point, like the writers really jumped on board with the character and it like worked out. I like to think I was like, did a good job and was, if nothing else, like a good quiet guy on set who was, pleasant to be around. And then it just happened. And then all of a sudden I was like a part of this thing. But it was crazy. I remember getting like the email being like, they want to bring you back for Crazy Ex. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Bringing George back?
I've had Esther on my show a number of times.
The best.
She, I remember, spoke very, very positively about how that show was run and just the experience of being on set on that show.
It's like without getting emotional, I cannot stress enough what an incredible experience that show was front to back. Like, it was just the best. Everybody on that show, to this day, we are all friends. Mm-hmm. I'm seeing Scott later tonight. I'm going to go see him outdoor in his backyard. Like, we are friends. I'm obviously still friends with Rachel. I'm friends with, on the cast, I text with almost everyone on the cast. It's so rare in Hollywood to have that kind of work environment. Mm-hmm. Better yet, to be part of a show that is actually good and you're like truly proud of what you're doing. Better yet, to like to get to do musical theater, which is like so unique and it's winning awards and then for me to like go from, I mean, I don't know how to go to recurring on a TV show like that with no real credits before, a couple, but like doing online sketch comedy. It was just wild. And then you get to do we got to do these like tours and these live shows. And, I remember Pete Gardner said something at the end where he was like really about like appreciating the moment. He was like, it's very rare that your reality exceeds your dreams.
Oh,
and it like
so
really
sweet.
Was with that. I know it was such a beautiful thing to say. And it was like, it was true with that show. It's like, geez, it's just, I couldn't have dreamed that positive an experience for your first show. It was unbelievable.
I've also had Catherine Burns on the show.
The greatest
choreographer.
on the planet.
What did you have experience dancing or like learning choreography before?
It's like yes and no, right? It's like I went to NYU for theater. I did musical theater there. I consider myself a pretty good singer. Mm-hmm. I can hold a tune. You give me the notes, I can handle it. Dance wise, same thing. I took 2 years of dance in college. Took semester ballet, semester tap, so I'm not just some schmo. But then you go on Crazy Ex, and everybody there is a Broadway level talent, mm-hmm. and I was cartoonishly terrible in comparison. It was brutal. But again, Cat Burns is the best. Mm-hmm. So Cat Burns was just like, would just figure it out with me, and I worked really hard to make up for it, but like also, I mean, she would literally, there would be like moves where she'd be like, I'd be like this, I was supposed to do this, and I'd be like this. She'd be like, does that feel better for you? And I was like, I guess this is the only, I don't know how to get my body to do that. She'd be like, great, it's that. And she would just change the dance if you needed it.
Oh, that's so great.
She was the best.
Yeah.
So I like very much, but it was like very much like, it's also like you just had to get it right. You just had to get it right on camera. Mm-hmm. And so often, like the big group numbers were honestly the harder ones. When it was just you was better. When it was those group numbers, whew.
Were you sad?
I would just.
Were you sad when the show ended? I was.
Oh, I cried.
Yeah.
It was the best. It was truly the best experience, and like, I don't know if I hope I'm a part of more and more things that are as positive as that. But like, I know so many people on TV shows who are like, well, our lead is a nightmare. And this guy's over here. And it was like, to be on a show where it was like, you'd have to work so hard to find stuff to complain about on that set. It was just like such a sweet group.
Do you think if you felt that it was such a sweet group and there was no nightmares, that means you were the nightmare?
It's an interesting thought. Never thought of it before, but it's an interesting point.
I'm just saying.
Were they all talking about me behind my back? That's a good point. I don't know.
I've had Rachel Bloom on the show too. So I've had Rachel, Kat, and Esther. So really, what if I'm sitting here with knowledge?
You might know. Listen. I have been waiting for years to find out if everybody secretly hates me. That's always been my assumption, is that everybody is secretly talking about how horrible I am.
Mm-hmm.
So it would bring me nothing but confirmation of years of me walking off that set being like, they hate me. So I get it.
No, it actually sounds like the rare set where there was no asshole. But wait, I know you were kind of joking, but is there an element of truth in that you actually walk around thinking everyone hates you?
Hate's strong, but I do think that people. Your assumption is the second you leave the room. My assumption is always the second I leave the room, people are like laughing at me. Or being like, because I was such a loser as a kid that I think you always kind of carry that with you, and it's not something that keeps me up at night, but like it's something I do. It's like I definitely know that feeling of like, oh, those kids are laughing at me over there. It's at me. They're laughing at me. They're laughing at me.
Yeah,
I was Peter Pan in high school, in the play. I was in a play of Peter Pan. I played Peter Pan. And my sophomore year, and I remember being like, well, this is going to be cool. I'm the lead as a sophomore.
Yeah.
These kids might not like me now, but wait until they see me as Peter Pan.
Yeah.
And then I remember we would do this big Friday preview for the school. It was the only time really kids went to the plays was over this Friday preview because they got out of class. And so I remember this, like, the theater's full. And we're going to do like the first 10 minutes of the play for them because it's preview. And I was like, everyone's about to see how cool I am. It's about to be so cool. And I remember, like, literally as the curtains start to open, I was like, I'm in tights. This is not good. And then it was just like, I just remember the curtain opening and just a roar of laughter.
Oh, gosh.
And I was like, yeah, that's not good. It was tough. But we learned. We grew. We're better now. I don't carry it as a grudge. There's a lot of people who were bullied as kids who they like make it their adult persona. And I'm like, relax. You're mad at a child.
Right.
I feel like more people need to be reminded of that when they're like, and I'm going to show those bullies. And I'm like, hey, you're mad at a 13-year-old girl. Like, relax. She was also going through stuff.
Right.
Now you're bullying them as an adult. Not good.
I hung on to it for... Well, it wasn't an extended period of time that I was bullied, but there was a couple months in 7th grade where I became like the social outcast. And these girls were just fucking vicious to me. And I would go home in tears every day. And like in my mind, it was the entire year, but it really started in May. And this, we only went to June. But
I feel like you'd be pretty cool on the whole.
Thank you. These people didn't think so. Thank you very much.
But just for those couple of months, right? Because then I feel like you probably held like a decent social standing. Nobody thinks they were the top, but like you hovered in like a nice area.
I did until that happened. So I went to a small school, and really there were like two groups. There was the co-ed popular group, and then there were the more scholastic, less popular kids, of which I was one of them, but I had I never worried about my social standing. I had a pretty strong social standing in the nerds. And then all of a sudden in 7th grade, it just like suddenly I had they were ditching me. I had no friends. I was alienated. I had no one to hang out with.
It's that feeling. It's that feeling that sticks to you. The feeling of being ditched where you're like,
I
Oh,
thought we
they're
were
all,
friends.
there was a plan
Yeah.
around not me being here.
Right. But I did hang on to that for because what you're saying about not holding a grudge, I hung on to that for a while. I mean, I remember in 8th grade, so now we're back and everything's ostensibly back to normal. But I'm not going to forgive and I'm not going to forget. And I remember one of the girls who had turned on me being like, "Oh, hi, Allison." And I just like, I think I just like, I might have gone like, "Hey," like my jaw barely moved. I was like, "Hi." And I just kept walking, or I didn't even acknowledge her. I was like so pissed and so like, I'm not going to be, I'm fool me once. I'm like Bush trying to remember that phrase and messing it up. I could have said it if I wanted to. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. But anyway, yeah. And then I think I hung on to it. But anyway, long story short, now it has dissipated. I don't still feel it. And many of these people, although do I not still feel it, if I have to point this out, have requested my friendship on Facebook. And I let them be my friend. That's how over it I am.
It's good. I remember the day there was like one girl who was like particularly
Atrocious.
rough on me.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was pretty mean. And this was like, I just remember she friended me on Facebook and she messaged me and she was like, "Hey, I just want to say, like, seems like you're doing great. Really proud of you. She's just great job." Like she said it in her name. And I was like, "You son of a, this is a time to show." And I just remember being like, I remember clicking on her profile and she's like a teacher now. She's a kid. She seems like she's just living a nice, happy life. And I was like, what are we mad at here?
Right.
She doesn't even clearly remember how mean she was. Clearly in her mind, it was like, not that. I obviously remember it my way. What are we holding on to here? And I remember like that was like, because I sort of said like, I'll do it. But I remember that was big. I like wrote it back being like, just not mentioned, just being like, "Hey, so glad. I hope you're doing well too." And I was like, yeah, that was it. And that was like the day I kind of let it all go.
Yeah, that's amazing that just that gesture allowed you to free yourself of a lot of that.
I think it was just looking at that profile and being like, oh, it's an adult woman who is teaching children, a far more noble job than I have. And she is seemingly a good human. And I'm mad at the 13-year-old version of this girl.
Right.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
We got to let this go.
Here's a factoid, and I'm wondering if it's going to boggle your mind in the same way it boggles mine. Boggles is not the right word. Baffles. I don't know. Okay, so given my experience, I have held on to this belief that the good people had the experiences we did. And those who were popular in grade school, that's their peak. And then life just shits on them. And it all works out somehow, and the meek shall inherit the earth, etc. So years ago, when I found out that Meryl Streep had been homecoming queen, I was like, what? But it's not supposed to work that way. How can someone who was so popular in high school go on to have such a celebrated life? What is happening? There's been a glitch. Do you know Paul Rust? Yeah, he's great, right?
He was the best. I did an episode of Love.
Oh, who did you play?
Got cut. Classic.
Okay.
I got cut. Don't worry about it. Like I said, sometimes not the best actor. But it was, but I did an episode and he was so ridiculously nice to me on set. And it was a great day. I will say it was like the best day to be on a set because it was just me, Gillian, and him. So it was like it was just the three. It was me as a janitor and Gillian got in a fight. And it was like great scene. And I also remember as a writer reading the episode and being like, I'd cut this. There's just no reason for it. It's just a scene.
Right.
Like, it doesn't add anything.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, if this episode goes over by a minute, I'm out. And I agree with them. And they did. I remember literally being like, I agree with them. I'd cut me.
Yeah.
And they did. But he was so nice to me on that
He's
set. And
so-
it was like still early in my acting. I remember
Yeah.
being like, thank you for being this way.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy, very funny, very creative. Tony actually plays drums in his band as well as other bands.
Oh, you're in, what's the name of that band?
Don't Stop or We'll Die.
Dude, Don't Stop or We'll Die. You guys have and now I'm going to do it again. You have a song I listen to constantly. I think it is such a good song. Stay for a while.
Once in a while.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. That.
Yeah.
I will. Yeah. I actually. I have come to the band a little later because Harris Whittles was their drummer for a long time, and then he passed away several years ago, and then I've been playing with them since then. So that's pre me, but I agree with you. Even before I was a fan before I joined the band, and yeah, that's a great song. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
When Daniel, my husband, and I began dating, he would always sing "Got a Curly Perm" for my camping trip, which is also a "Don't Stop or We'll Die" song. But anyway, back to Paul Rust. But he's like a dorky, I mean, handsome, but like a dorky looking guy, right? You know, like,
Sure. Yes,
I don't know how to say that in a way that doesn't.
Here.
What'd you say?
I said I don't think you're talking out of turn here.
Yeah.
I trust me. If you're like me, and so Paul and I imagine get the same castings all the time, which is like, you know, buddy, you know, they want to see you for this role, and it's like loser. Absolutely, no girl would ever want to touch him. You're like, cool. So I'm sure he's aware of his general look.
So, but so charming, so charismatic, you know,
And
handsome.
the best.
Okay. So here's the thing, Tony, you know where I'm going with this, don't you? Because I keep bringing it up. I think he was homecoming king or prom king or something like that.
Yeah.
Was it homecoming or
but
prom?
I'm
Yeah,
not
but-
sure, but it was
One of
yeah.
those. And I was just like, okay, what the fuck?
Here's what you're forgetting, though. He's probably a super funny guy because he's genuinely funny.
Yeah.
I'm
but-
I'm stand-up funny.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm like, let me write and rant and like I can do this craft, but I'm not like funny at a party. Right? I'm fine at a party, but I'm not funny at a party. Paul's like fun at a party. So it's
Yeah.
like I imagine he killed it. But I will say I won class vice president end of freshman year, ironically. I was voted in ironically because it was like me and one other person.
Let's vote in a loser?
Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, let's put it, because I was known, because I was trying to be cool. So I was very loud. I was like kind of always trying to like fit in.
Okay.
So I think it like kind of, I was one of those. I was one of those like would not accept being a loser, which is of course the most loser thing you can do. And so,
I was too. Yeah.
But then it's the worst kind. It's just horrible. And it's like, and everybody's like, I was a loser and I'm proud of. That's like the big thing here in Hollywood. I'm always like, I wasn't. I really
really wanted to be-
fighting.
Yeah,
I really wanted to be cool.
If I had
really
been a
wanted them to
loser
like
who
me.
accepted being a loser, then I would have been cool. Because
I
it's
know.
cool.
I know,
it's
you
cool
live in
to
that-
be
it's that-
okay. Yeah.
I know it's that middle ground, and that's where I lived. But they voted me in ironically. But then I genuinely had to hang out with the cool kids because we were on the SGA together, and that was like huge. That really turned it around as far as like the bullying went. Like high school was much better than middle school, elementary school for me because I was in that. I was like in SGA basically the whole time, and like, I mean, there's this one kid like. It's so funny. Like, to be clear, I was never invited to one party my entire time in high school. But this like kid, Jason, who was like one of the coolest kids, I remember he just like, we ran for that office together and then he was president, I was vice president. And he just like, it just was nice to me. He was one of the coolest kids and he was just very nice to me. And I remember how much it changed my life. And I'm sure he could literally not remember this at all and or be like, oh yeah, I was just like your friend. To me at the time, I was like, dude, he saved my school life. That kid.
Well, he sounds great. Jason is his name?
Jason. And by the way, because this is something you were saying earlier where you're like the cool kids are supposed to become like their lives. That's supposed to be the peak of their life.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, at least for my school, the cool kids killing life.
Yeah, I don't.
A lot of them doing great.
Like that. I mean, it's fine for Jason because he was nice, but in general, I feel that is a betrayal of the promise that I thought life was making with me.
Nah, it turns out they're doing great.
Yeah, I don't.
A lot of them. I look at all the time like the cool kids being like, "How's this person doing?" And I'm like, "Wow, seems like they're at like a really good position. They just bought a house and it's like really big." I'm like, "Wow." Damn.
With the ones I know, I'm always like, "Oh, she went to Stanford? What?"
I know, right?
Yeah, or like, "Oh, she went to Princeton and now she's a professor? What is going on?" I feel
I know it's
I think I've
hear you.
misunderstood
Same exact thing.
something along the way. Here's the deal. So let's do, hey, go fuck yourself. So Danny, is there someone that you need to give the business to?
Yeah, and yes, I'll tell you exactly who it is because I haven't been able to comment on it because my special came out and I've had to promote. But if I wasn't, I would say this. Hey, go fuck yourself. This cinnamon toast shrimp guy.
Oh.
I gotta tell you, I am so tired of this tattletaling on social media that keeps happening on companies. It's like, clearly, assuming he isn't lying, which I do hear could be true, but assuming he isn't lying, clearly this wasn't a plot against you. Clearly, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, a cereal that has gotten us through our childhoods, that has been good to us, that has saved many a morning for you and I, is not trying to hurt this man. Clearly something went wrong. One of their packaging units got it. I'm not saying you shouldn't send them a complaint, but to just to try to humiliate them online, then mock every response they gave where they obviously were like, this is a PR nightmare because of you. So they're like, hey, it seems crazy there's shrimp in there. Like, can we like see what's going on in there? He's like, look at them trying to solve. It's like, hey man, it's a company. They're trying their best. This company has given us nothing but joy. So how about we all calm it down and not call people out publicly?
So then you have to go, hey, Cinnamon Toast Shrimp guy, and then Tony plays something.
Oh, sorry, I didn't do it.
No, that's
right.
okay.
I just went off.
No, that's good. It was good. It was good. This is not to replace what you did. This is just a coda to your epic.
So sorry.
Hey, no, please, no more apologies.
I'm going to do it right. Ready?
Okay.
Hey, Cinnamon Toast Shrimp guy, go fuck yourself.
Well,
now you play it.
okay.
Hey, go fuck yourself.
You went off without a hitch.
You can blame me on that too. I thought there was going to be a pause and then I was just going to play sorry.
Well, that's how we do it
Did I
in the
not pause?
past.
What did I do? What did I do wrong? I thought I did it right. What did I do wrong?
Okay.
I'll do it again.
It is tough to come in if you don't.
I'm a good actor. I take notes. You tell me.
You're fine.
In the past. But there's no way I can expect anyone to know this without me actually telling them. So what kind of sick game am I playing, Tony? In the past, the way we would do it is, Danny, you would go, hey, Cinnamon Toast Crunch Shrimp guy, or whatever we're going to call him. And then you pause, and then Tony plays the drop. But you said, hey, go fuck yourself.
No, let me do it. Let me do it again. I'll do it again.
Okay.
Hey, Cinnamon Toast Shrimp guy?
Hey, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. That felt good.
Did that feel good? Was that the way I was supposed to do it?
And that felt good, but they all felt good. Here's the weird thing with that guy. His name is Jensen Karp. Tony, do you know him?
I have met him. I do not know him.
I don't know him at all. I never heard of this man until this.
He's someone that I have a lot of people that do know him in my life, and I feel like not to the extent what's coming out now, but I've always kind of heard not the best things.
So I have had him on my show a number of times, or maybe like 4 times. He was a Monday show guest, and then he was on a Thursday show 3 times. And I always thought he's like nice and funny, and that was, and I've been on his podcast, his former podcast a couple of times. He then was on Kevin and Bean with Allie and And I kept in touch with him a little bit, and that was it. And then I saw the shrimp tails in his Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and I thought that was disgusting. And then, there was also rat poop in the Cinnamon Toast Crunch and like various other things that looks like a rat was collecting to build a nest, and the whole thing was horrifying. And so then I posted like all these stories started coming. It was surprising the coverage this got. It was like in the New York Times and the LA Times. And then I'm like, hey, if we're all jumping on Shrimp Tails bandwagon, perhaps someone would like to hear my episodes with him if they want to know more. Because also he's married to Danielle Fishel, who played Topanga in Boy Meets World. It's a real celebrity. It's a real, celebrity duo. So
is there anything more Hollywood than that?
I don't think so. So
is there anything? Yeah.
And by the way, I saw her in person when I did his show one time, and her hair is amazing. She just it's so thick. She has so much hair. It's crazy. So, I tweeted like, I had cinnamon toast trending topic on my podcast. Perhaps you'd like to hear it. And I like laid out all the episodes. Someone wrote back and was like, wow, this seems thirsty. And I'm like, yes, it is. I know. I didn't respond to that, but they had like no followers, but I agreed with the sentiment, which is why I'm sharing it here. But anyway, then someone was like, I'm starting to hear bad stuff about this guy. And I was like, what? So I didn't realize there's a real backlash against him of women saying that like they had dated him and he was manipulative and narcissistic and gaslighting and just all this stuff, which I had no idea about. So now I'm like, that's my final thought about that is, I didn't know.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that stuff is terrible, obviously. But my issue with him came prior to that backlash.
Yeah.
I had backlash the second I saw the first post. Because I was like, hey, how many hey, what's his name?
Jensen.
How many times have you had cinnamon toast crunch in your life?
Probably a lot.
Has this ever been a problem before?
He said it's his
Has
favorite.
this ever been an issue? Have they ever let you down once in your life? Has a bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch ever let you down one time? Or has it not delivered happiness and joy into your life literally every single time, except for this one box, this one time? So do we have to call it out publicly?
Right.
Do we have to drag every company for every issue? I don't get it.
Interesting. Have you ever publicly dragged a company?
I do it out of pure necessity because every now and then you can't get through the helpline.
Right.
And you know this as well as I do. If I tweet about it, I'll get help.
Mm-hmm.
So on occasion, I will be like, hey, blah, blah, blah. What is this? Blah, blah, blah. But always with the intention of the second they reply, tweet me and go, oh my God, we're so sorry. We've never had I take it down. It's just to get their attention because sometimes I'm literally unable to get a hold of them.
Right. Hey, Adafruit, why is there a shrimp in my Solo cup?
Nobody would ever say such a thing because I would never let a shrimp get into one of those cups.
Yeah,
I would have been careful.
I have done that, but I always tweet directly at them. But I think I tweeted American Airlines because I had an issue with them one time, and it did get resolved because I had done that.
It gets resolved immediately. That's the problem.
Right.
The problem is they'll just resolve it so quickly if you just do that, and so it's so tough because I agree. I've done the exact same thing.
Yeah,
and I hate myself when I do it, but I'm like, blah blah blah, you're being bad. You did bad. And then I tweet it and immediately they're like, oh my God, we're so sorry.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's what happens.
Danny, we are basically at the end of the show and we didn't even talk about your special, which is so good. Let's just real quick. So it's called 6 Parts. You recorded it in 6 different locations. Where did you get that idea?
So I do, so it was a double whammy. I knew I wanted to do 6 sections for a special. That was like initially a big part of it because I was like, I headline a decent amount on the road, but at the end of the day, most of my act has been built in 10-minute sets around town. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I really have like some 10-minute sets that are like they flow perfectly. They tell a story versus an hour where it's like kind of, we shift. And so I was like, I'd love doing it in 6 parts. I do a ton of this company called Don't Tell Comedy, which does a ton of shows, sort of the So Far Sounds of comedy is the best way I can describe them, but they just they do basically comedy anywhere but a comedy club. And I told Kyle, the owner, about the idea, and he was like, I would do that. We don't have a budget. We don't have a ton of money, but we can try to film 6 shows at 6 different venues. And we were like, all right, let's do it. And we did it for so little money. And it was an insane idea, but we did it. We pulled it off.
It works really well.
Thank you. I think it's really fun, and I think it switches it up. And I do think it's cool also because you have people always, when I talk about it, people always are talking about the venues, which are really interesting, but the crowd sizes change. Mm-hmm. The art gallery probably only had 20, 25 people there. And versus the gym and comedy club, which probably had 100 at each.
Right.
100, even more. It was those were packed. And then these other ones are smaller, but they all work and they feel different. Mm-hmm. So I just knew I wanted 6 chunks. And then we really figured out this different places thing.
Right. Well, I hope everyone goes and watches it. I laughed out loud. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. I really hope everyone my thing, because we could have put it on a streamer of various kinds, mm-hmm. and it could have just lived there and nobody would have watched it, but we all would have been way to go, Danny. And which is, I think, the move these days with specials is you just put it somewhere and then everyone's like, you did it. And I was because no one knows the view count on those other things. And I was like, I really believe in this special and I just want people to see it. So I put it out there for free. I'll never make $1 basically off this thing, no matter what happens. But it would mean the world to me if people checked it. It just gave it a shot because I really think you'll enjoy it.
I'll link to it in the notes of this episode, but where can people get it? Tell people where to find it.
Just YouTube, Danny Jolles, 6 parts. And you will get there easily. It's in my bio on Instagram, Twitter, and Instagram, obviously, and all that. But literally just my name, 6 parts on YouTube. You will get there.
Wonderful. And do you want to plug anything else? Your social media or website or anything?
Sure. I'll do my usual. So first off, at Danny Jolles on all social media, JOLLES. Always appreciate a follow. Please go check out the special. Is my biggest plea. That's certainly my top one. And then my last thing to everybody, I say this on every podcast I do, but stand-up comedy is like hockey. It is very fun to watch on TV, but it is just a different experience live. It's just a different it's so much better than you think it is. So many people just consume stand-up comedy through TV. They never see it live. And so I always tell everyone, just please, based on what you feel comfortable with, go to your local comedy club, go to your local outdoor show, wait a little bit, but when you can, just go and see live stand-up comedy. There's great live stand-up comedy happening near you right now. Don't worry about who's there. Just go and see live stand-up comedy. You'll have the best night of your life. That's it.
There you go. And before you head out the door, don't forget to please review this podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. If you like what you're hearing, 5 stars, please. It helps out the show. It helps people find the show. If you enjoy what you're hearing, tell your friends. That helps people find the show too. Please rate, review, subscribe, or I guess now follow is the word.
And if I may add, I've had to, you and I have only met one time really.
Right.
Before all this, and releasing a special on YouTube is very scary, and you're nervous about how people see it. And I reached out to many people at podcasts, people I know very well, who never got back to me. Some of them, and then some were so quick. And Allison was so immediate. Immediately said yes, and of course, and figured it out. And I cannot tell you how much it means. So to everybody listening to this, you are listening to a really wonderful person who really helped me out. So please make sure to rate and subscribe, because it really, I cannot thank them enough for having me on.
That's so nice. Thank you. But yeah, he's right. Do all of that. Also, I am on Patreon, patreon.com/Allison Rosen, Zoom parties, bonus episodes, behind the scenes content, so much access to me. You'll beg me to leave you alone. Gossip, innuendo, rumors, names. Ask me anything. I'll answer it on there.
Dishwashers.
You want to know the brands of the dishwashers I'm not going to buy? That's what you got a Patreon for. I'm also on Cameo. I already mentioned I'm on YouTube as well. Please follow me on social media at Allison Rosen on Twitter and Instagram. You know, I recently heard that like you shouldn't flood your listeners with like you should just do like 1 or 2 call to actions, and I just gave you guys like 13, but that's because I know you can handle it. Tony, where do we find you?
I am at Tony Thaxton on Twitter and Instagram. My podcast, Bizarre Albums, every Tuesday, and the aforementioned Don't Stop or We'll Die is going to do another live stream on Twitch on April 8th. Time TBA, but yeah, that'll be on Twitch April 8th.
Wonderful. I think I'm going to get on Twitch one of these days. I don't know what day it's going to be, though.
Well, you let us know.
I'll let you know.
Add that to your plethora of plugs.
That's right. So I'm gonna, you know, it's like sweaters. I'm gonna have to get rid of one to add in another one. Which one should I drop, you guys? I'm gonna let you vote. Thank you again, Danny. It was so nice having you on the show. Listeners,
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for listening. You matter. I love you. Goodbye.
Hey, do you know about the Allison Rosen show? We had a good time, but now we gotta go. Yeah, Allison Rosen is your new best friend.